All right, everybody, so today we're going to talk to my daughter, Gemma Gower, about what it's like to be a consultant's kid. Right? Happy birthday, baby.
Thanks.
Welcome. Thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I'm really curious what her answers are going to be, so I guess we'll see.
It's going to be crazy.
I guess we'll see. All right, so tell me, what's it like being a pyromance consultant's kid?
It was honestly like all around a really good experience. Like, there was a lot of pluses, things that like I got to experience that other kids didn't get to, like education-wise, and like also experience like different things that we got to do because of pyromance and that sort of thing. So I think in general it was more exciting in every way possible than just like a regular kid whose mom has a 9-to-5 type of thing.
What do you think some of those pluses were?
Like, I mean, being able to travel, that was really cool. Being able to talk openly with my mom about things that most kids were like, oh my god, I could never ask my mom that, and I just like come home and I'm like, hey, so by the way, how do you do this? Why is this happening to me? What's going on? Like, and she could just tell me, and she already knew, and she wasn't weird about it. It was just like a normal conversation.
And once your friends knew, then they started coming to me too, which was
Yeah.
really funny.
Yeah. They were all like, oh, like, Vicky, like, okay, so this is happening, and like, I don't know what to do. So
yeah, and they,
Mama G to the rescue.
Mama G, that was it. It was always Mama G.
Yeah.
Can I visit you in your office?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
and now that still happens. Like, me and Brant will sit in here and just like hang
that's
out
true.
and just like talk about stuff.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. So what do you remember about me working at home as opposed to outside the home like a lot of your friends' parents did?
I could never skip school and come home.
It's a skip at somebody else's house.
No, but I actually think it was really nice because there was days where I would have bad days and I would come home and I'd be like crying. I'd come in there and I'd break down, and she was right there. Whereas if you have a mom or a dad who has a 9-to-5, you don't necessarily get to come home and cry to them about something going on or talk to them about something that's going on in your life like that. And it was really convenient for me when I was going through stuff. I was able to like come home and be like, this is what's going on and I don't know what to do about it, rather than going to my room and like being by myself.
Right. And then inconvenient when you wanted to
Skip school.
try to, get one over on me, right? That's pretty funny. So do you remember, because I remember it vividly, being able to, like, I never had to miss anything.
Yeah. I remember, like, if there was a pizza lunch at my elementary that I went to, she was always volunteering. Or if there was I did soccer all the time. If there was soccer, I would come home, dinner would be made, we'd eat, and we'd go all together.
Yeah,
so
freedom. Yeah,
to be able to just like take off right away from home because you had already gotten all your work done early in the day because you knew that we were going to be going somewhere. I think that was nice.
Cool. Gemma, what do you remember about important dates and and what I was able to be there for as opposed to maybe not always be there for if I'd worked in my healthcare job?
Yeah, I mean, I think like grad was something that like Dad had to take off and Chris had to make sure he wasn't working and stuff like that, and like you were just like, okay, like I'll just put an X in my calendar and like book parties other days, like, so like that's the nice part about like the freedom, but as well as like being able to just do things, or like if I had a day off school, we would just go and like go shopping or do something together, like
yeah, I
even
remember
grocery shopping.
I remember spring break being my favorite, and
Yeah.
summer holidays, and I remember having friends who work outside the home that would say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with my kids. I have to get summer daycare and I have to do this, and I was just like, oh, we're going to Fun Mountain.
Sorry.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the freedom and that flexibility and being able to put the family first and then my business sort of second during those years was super integral for me.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that it was impactful for you as well.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I'm assuming that you probably don't recognize it, but you know, we were not in the best financial position. Do you remember feeling a change in our lifestyle or a shift in any of that?
I think that the first thing that I obviously noticed was when I was 8, we moved out of our neighborhood, out of our 600 square foot home.
Just a little, yeah.
Yeah, we were able to move into a more thriving neighborhood and where we were able to do more things outside and all hours of the day kind of thing. So that was nice.
I wasn't as afraid for you to walk to school.
Yeah, even though the school was so close.
Yeah, it was very close in both homes that we lived in at that time. But in our new home, I felt a lot more confident about you being safer. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else?
I think like when I started playing soccer, I noticed that the first team I played on, all the girls and their dads were coaching, and like they had played since they were like 4 years old, and I was 10 years old, and I was like, this is my first year of soccer. I was like so excited.
This is the first year I can afford
and
it.
And they were like, are you sure this is your first year? Like, and I was like, yeah, I've been practicing for a long time. Like, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We certainly felt the shift as well, and I just remember being so happy that I could have a car that I could afford and that it didn't limit us. So one of the questions that I get asked all the time at my parties is, what do you tell your family what you do? So growing up, from age 7, 8, whatever that was, you know, as you grew up, what did you know about what I did?
I think it started as she sells like products and whatever, and then it turned into like, oh, she keeps mummies and daddies happy and like helps them be happier in their relationship or whatever, and that changed as I got older and older and became more aware of the products that were sold and that sort of thing. But I think if I was to be thrown into it as a 7-year-old and be like, oh, this is what mom does, like it would be a lot overwhelming, and I don't know if I would know how to handle it.
Yeah, nor appropriate.
Right. So I think that the like graduation of like being told like, oh, and this and this, and then oh, and this and this, and then once I hit puberty, it was like, okay, well now we're gonna talk about different stuff, and the education that you were learning within your business turned into education that you were sharing with me. Yeah.
And you know, even down to just our bath and body products that we were using. I mean, they were in our bathroom. We were using
the vibrating ball in the bathtub. Me and Heath used to use it all the time. We'd be like, oh, like,
yeah, they loved it, right? It was a massaging. You used to lay in the tub and have that behind your neck. You thought it was the best thing ever, right? So it was, you know, it was just a simple products that we were able to use as a family. And you know, the bath and body, the shower gels, the shaving creams, all of that stuff. Those all came,
which are wonderful, by the way.
Right?
Get yourself some coochie cream.
But you know, those slow integrations of our products into your life. And I mean, you look at your brother at 17. We still aren't having that conversation with your brother. That's you know what? He's not 18. Those aren't happening. Right. So, but we are having much more open conversation, just as we did with you. Right? Yeah. So, growing up, we talked openly about sex and relationships. How do you think that impacted your view on how to have a relationship or be in a relationship, and not just with a partner, but with friends and family, and how did you maneuver through that?
I think like I was able to understand that I was allowed to decide when I wanted to do things, and it wasn't all about like, oh, like, all my friends are having sex, I have to do it. I was that person that was like, I'm gonna wait till I'm 18 years old and like whatever. But I think that it's important that I realized really early on and was educated really early on, and I was always the kid at school that like there was certain things like my friends would be using something and I'd be like, don't use that, it's so bad for you, like, or like I'd be like, my mom said like please don't do that, you're ruining your body, like, and I would like tell my friends all this stuff, and like, and I was like, it was so funny, but I remember a lot of my friends coming to me and being like, hey, I'm thinking about like using this, like, what do you think your mom would think? Like,
wow.
So
that whole what would Vicky do thing.
Yeah, literally. But I think from a really early age, learning about your body, and like most people's parents, like they give them a book and they're like, okay, read this, like this is all you need to know. And
we read that book together. Do you remember
that?
Yeah,
we
was
did
called.
That,
it was from Usborne Books, and it was called "What's Happening to My Body." And there was one for girls and one for boys. And I read the whole thing, and then then I gave it to you, and then every night you would read a chapter, and then we would sit and talk about it. And sometimes we didn't look at each other when we talked. We didn't. We just kind of gave each other that space, right? When we were starting to, right? And then remember we kind of maneuvered into where we would talk in the car. Yeah. Because then I had to concentrate on driving, and you were concentrating on flooring me. Yeah. Right? But it was good, and you're right. I mean, I hear so often some of my clients will say, will you come to my house and teach my children? I'm like, no, but that's not how this works. That's not how this works, but I am going to teach you so that you can feel confident in having that comfortable conversation.
Yeah, and like I even know like people whose parents like didn't have any talk with them, and I'm like, what? Like, how do you know what to do with your body? Like, what? How do you... What?
Yeah, like, that's mind-blowing. Yeah. So you come from a place of knowing, and then you end up being, with other kids or other young adults who are experiencing something very, very different. Yeah. So, cool. And was that mortifying to you?
What?
That you had so much information?
No, but I think when people would... Like, my friends would be like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, don't do that. That's bad. Like, they'd be like, oh, I'm not going to tell Gemma
a disclaimer,
anymore.
I never told her anything was bad. I never.
No, but
what was healthy?
Right.
What was,
what's good for your
risky
body.
Behavior?
Right.
What was, so.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So, Jem, do you remember the time that my friend Patty and her family were here, and we taught you and her girls how to take care of yourself and your sexual self and kind of honor that side of you? Do you remember that?
That's not what they taught us. They taught us how to put condoms on.
We did that too. We did that too. That was the core principle.
I know, but no, it wasn't like... It wasn't a bad experience. It was something that I knew I needed to learn and that I would need to use eventually. So I was grateful to learn how to do it properly.
Right.
And then we did a demonstration of like, this is how to do it properly and this is how to do it wrong and this is why it looks wrong and you can see that it's wrong because of this. So that was really important because like, because you don't know, like, if people know what they're doing, and you want to know that you're doing it properly, right?
Now, and when you're in school, you don't pay that close attention to how to apply a condom because you're so
all the
busy.
guys are like,
yeah,
like they're all laughing. Yeah, they're like, oh, this is so funny.
And none of them do it right.
No.
So one of the things we wanted to make sure that we taught you guys was that you needed to take control of your safety and your bodies, and that knowing how to apply a condom was so important. Yeah. And then we did talk about your feelings and the question box. The question box was so good. One of the girls decided to create a question box, and we thought that was pretty cool. They thought it was completely anonymous, but of course we knew our children, right? We knew our teenage girls.
You know their writing, like.
Yeah. And we knew their personalities, and we knew kind of, who was who when it came down to reading the questions. Yeah. But we were so grateful that they felt comfortable. And my friend Patty was also a pyromance consultant, so it was one of those scenarios where we were really able to take our knowledge and take what we knew, band together as women with young women, and teach our daughters how to respect their bodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. super cool. I love that.
Also, Chris and Patty's experience at the store.
So we were on vacation together, and my husband Chris and our friend Patty went to the store to buy the condoms, and but they also bought dessert
Sunday
products.
making.
We wanted to make sundaes because we thought that'd be a really nice segue from talking about this heavy conversation about sex and relationships with our girls, and then we were gonna make chocolate sundaes. So they bought all these whipped cream and ice cream and chocolate, and then the lady at the grocery store was just like, "You have a nice night, you two." And Chris and Patty walked away going,
"Oh what? No, that's not what this looks like." So fun.
So funny. Anyway, we ate sundaes. We made some banana splits when we were done.
Yep.
But you know what? Sometimes I think that parents don't always want to have those conversations with their kids, not because they're not sure.
Yeah.
How do you approach that? How is your kid going to talk to you back about that? What is that conversation going to look like?
Well, and for us, like, we were used to the products being around the home, or not, I guess not everywhere, but like,
I know, but
like we're used to seeing certain things or whatever. So when they like put it up on the counter, it wasn't like, oh my god, like it wasn't like this crazy thing. Like it was like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah, it was simply a conversation.
Yeah.
That was easier for us as moms to have, and for some reason you guys really trusted us, and you know, you could go to Patty and her girls could come to me, or we could do, you know, we kind of teamed it, and it was kind of cool. So I like that. So before the business, we already talked about, you know, not really having a whole lot of extra in our finances.
Right.
So we didn't travel. And one of the things that I always told myself when I didn't have money was that I hated travel and I didn't want to do it. And now anytime somebody says you want to, I'm like, yeah, where are we going?
Yeah.
So what kind of travel have you been able to experience?
Well, my first time on a plane, I actually saw a post on Facebook today that was like, well, where was your first place that you went on a plane? And a lot of people were like, oh, Calgary, or like wherever, like just somewhere close. And I'm like, oh, I went to Maui the first time I went on a plane, which is like not normal. Like that's not like something that most people can say that they did the first time.
Yeah.
So that we've been to Maui, we've gone to Mexico. We, instead of doing Christmas gifts for a few years, we just went to Mexico the week before Christmas, and then got our stocking stuffers on Christmas Day, and that was it. So that was a really cool experience that we wouldn't have been able to do.
And we met such amazing people.
Oh yeah.
We're really lucky because when we go to Mexico now, we have family.
A network there, of people. Yeah,
we are really lucky for that.
Yeah.
And travel alone, just even going to Calgary and BC to see our friends that we only know because of the business, right? So, we feel pretty good. I'm grateful. Are you grateful? You like it? Do you like the travel?
Yes, I'm grateful. No, I hated Maui.
I hated going to Hawaii.
I was sick the whole time, but I still loved it.
I think that, you know, it's things that we wouldn't have ordinarily been able to do, and we would have never gone anywhere. I mean, I'd never ever traveled any further than Grand Forks, North Dakota, literally before the business, and we're really lucky. Now, tell me, how did you share my business when people ask? Because people would have asked you, oh, how come your mom can come to all the field trips? So how come your mom can volunteer? What does your mom do? What did you say?
I remember a lot of the time, like, I would be like, oh, my mom, like, works from home. And they'd be like, oh, like, what does she do? And I'm like, oh, like, it's like Tupperware.
Yeah, it was.
One time, I vividly remember when I came home from Camp Ernez with pink eye and an ear infection.
Oh, I remember that.
The principal was, like, driving me home, and she was like, oh, like, what does your mom do? And I was like, oh, you know, she's, like, sells, like, candles and stuff, like, because they had the massage candles. And,
we did. We had massage. She wasn't lying.
No. I was like, you know, like, lotions and, like, candles, like, you know, it's just a thing. It's fine. And so, it was always, like, kind of weird for me because, like, I didn't know how in depth I could go, especially with teachers or, like, people like that. I wasn't just gonna be like, oh, yeah, like, my mom does this, and I didn't know how they were gonna react. But once
were you fearful of their reaction? Like, did you feel a sense of this is something that I shouldn't be talking about?
No,
or?
I just recognize that maybe not everyone talks about stuff like that. So
True.
like they might not like
That's why
have
I'm
a good
so busy.
reaction to it. Right. Yeah, they might not have the same reaction that like my mom would have, like, or whatever. Like they might react differently. So I just didn't want to like make it weird, I guess. But I remember in middle school, I got a little more confident and a little more like self-aware, and I said, "Oh, my mom does pyromance," and my middle school homeroom teacher was like, "Oh, like you don't have to tell people that," and I was like, "Why
Meanwhile,
not?"
I had been partying with all of the teachers in the school already, just in case anyone.
And she was like, "Oh, you don't have to tell people that," and I was like, "What do you want me to tell them?" Like, I was like, but I literally just turned around and I was like, "But that's what she does."
That's what she does.
Like,
she does pyromance.
I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, like she just like has a 9 to 5 at like the government office." Like, I'm not.
You're gonna lie about it.
I'm not gonna make up a story. Like, yeah, my
Yeah.
mom works from home and she does pyromance and we get to travel a lot. So.
Yeah. Do you remember the time when I sent you to soccer with a pyromance water bottle and you were
I
mortified?
lost my mind.
She was much smaller than
I taped my team name over the pyromance so that it wouldn't say it, so that I wouldn't have to like have that conversation. But now I like take my pyromance water bottle to school and to work all the time.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
care. Wear my pyromance merch.
She does. See, she's my walking billboard. It's okay, right? University. I'm all in that business. Okay, Gemma, last but not least, if you could tell, pardon me, if you could tell somebody who is considering becoming a pyromance consultant, how you feel this is going to impact their family life, their children, what would you say?
Do it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be disappointed if you work your business and you do what you can and get your stuff done. Honestly, there's almost zero downside, if at all. You're gonna be able to travel with your kids. You're gonna be able to educate them more on their bodies and their health and being confident in themselves and respecting their bodies. And you're gonna be able to go to don't cry.
Now I'm not going to.
That'll make it
I
weird.
love, you know what? I love what you said about respecting your body. I just think that is something that, that of course every single parent wants their child to do. I just think because of the open conversations that we were able to have, that you are and we're very quickly in a place where you respected the temple that is yours. I just think that's so freaking cool.
Yeah, and I think especially if you have a daughter, like, it's really important for them to understand. I mean, sons too.
Yeah,
it's very important for sons to understand how to be aware of their bodies and that sort of thing. But
we're raising good people, and that's something I've always said is that because of my pyromance business, I've been able to raise better humans because I became a better human. Yeah, and a training. I remember going to all kinds of great training that pyromance puts in front of us, and those trainers don't just talk about how to be a good person in business, but just how to be a good person and be better for you, be better for you.
Yeah, and I think through learning all that stuff, you just naturally integrate it into your life. Like, I remember being a kid, and all of a sudden my mom kept saying, train your brain. Don't say that. Like, if you say negative things, you're gonna think negative things, and if you think negative things, then you're gonna continue to say negative things, and like,
and then you're gonna get negative things, don't you?
So I remember there came a point when that was really prevalent in like our lives, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, Mom, I get it, like, be positive, like, and at the time I was like kind of annoyed by it, but now I totally understand why, because it was important for me to not talk down about myself and that, and I know that you have struggled with like body issues and stuff, and I've always said, like, and you've taught me through your own like confidence issues that it's like it's okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
And I was able to like take that away from it, even though a lot of girls who see their moms like talk badly about themselves or whatever, they become self-conscious as well. But it was the opposite because you taught me a completely different way.
Yeah. And I also changed.
Yeah.
From the time that I started my business to now, I also changed, and I was transparent about that. So I would say things like, you know what, I have to work really hard on not saying something negative about myself because I want to make sure that I'm teaching you the right way to be and to feel about yourself, because you're beautiful. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Mwah.